All right, ladies, I'm going to get started. I was just giving everyone a couple minutes to log on. So before I get rolling, just make note, if you have any questions, you can type it into the Google chat there and I will answer them as they come up. So you don't need to turn on your cameras or your mics or anything like that with this amount of people on the call. So thank you, everyone. My name is Brooke. I am one of the owners of 360 Fitness here in Red Deer. And I have been personal training for 18 years, going on 19. And I have niched myself into this group of clients that has come into women, pregnancy, postpartum, and going into menopause. So my goal of today is to basically go through some information with you, give you some content, and hopefully walk away with some ideas that you can learn from going forward into tomorrow and beyond. So a little bit about me. So like I said, I'm an owner of 360 Fitness, and but my first time full-time job for sure would be a mom. So I have two boys, 6 and 9. I don't know a lot of you, but I am heavily active into their world. Secondly, I'm a boss of two personal training studios. We have 41 staff, and it's incredibly busy, but my main part of my job is sitting behind a desk. So I don't train many people anymore. I only have a few clients myself. My main priority is my staff and then the thousands of clients that we work with on a yearly basis. I am a trainer. My passion is helping women feel better in their own skin, finding a way that works with their busy world. I'm also a wife with another partner with an incredible career, and then a friend to my very close-knit circle here at the gym and in my personal life. But when it comes down to it, my goal with HERStrong, I started about 6 months ago with the dream to help more women. I find a lot of women, number one, don't feel good in their own skin. Number two, they really struggle to find balance between home life, work life, because a lot of women have incredible careers now, which is fantastic. But then between being parents and working is finding time to take care of yourself goes on the back burner. And so I created HERStrong in order to give women the opportunity to find something that they could work around their schedules and something that's realistic. My big thing is that a lot of women expect to go to a big box gym and have an hour and a half to work out, and it just doesn't happen. They're not 20 anymore. So my goal was to find an opportunity and a way to help more women that I could work with one-on-one. And that's where HERStrong came in to niche into my target market of clients in their, mid 30s to kind of 60s, somewhere in there. So my goal for today, like I said, was I want to give you one or two ideas to focus on your health, but in a realistic manner. Be able to execute these immediately when you guys listen to me speak, is take away one or two points you could start tomorrow. To motivate you and know that there are supports, that you're not alone. And all the hundreds of women I have worked with over the years is we all feel the same. We feel like we're failing in our own health. We're not getting time by ourselves or with our spouse or in our work world. So finding that balance. And then my big thing is finding something that's realistic that you can do for years on end. As women go from having kids into perimenopause and menopause, the least amount you can fad diet, the better when it comes to your hormones and going into menopause and post. So finding something that will work well with your metabolism, and finding something that you can do for 5 years, for 10 years, 20 years, to be healthy living into your grandkids. So one of my, main points and things I've learned over 19 years of doing this is aging doesn't mean you need to slow down. When we've worked with a lot of older clients here at the gym, the biggest thing is to keep moving. Age is truly just a number. We have a lot of 25-year-olds come in and they're in worse shape than our 60-year-olds. So a big part of that is people lose strength, which is something you can control. Your weight goes up, and a lot of that is lifestyle choices, which I get is a lot harder, but it's things that are in your control. The reality is that if you can work on your diet in small amounts, not big changes, work on your recovery, your rest, your stress levels, your aging process will slow. You might be even healthier than you were in your 20s, which is absolutely fantastic. So one of the biggest things with women is not losing muscle. And it's huge in your 20s, but it's imperative going into your 30s and 40s. The biggest thing is that it keeps your strength up for daily movement. It keeps your strength up for keeping up with your kids. And the more muscle you have going into menopause, the better. It has to do with your metabolism, being able to keep up with your grandkids, depending on where you're at. But keeping that muscle mass going in is huge for your brain fog, your mental health, and be able to boost your energy and your bone density going into ages that you won't be able to do that anymore. So when it comes down to it, so many women are scared to lift weights, and it usually comes down to not knowing what to do. Women come in and they're like, all I did was I went to my big box gym and I walked on the treadmill. Not that that's not great, but it's not going to help you maintain that muscle mass. So part of HERStrong is learning how to work out properly, lift weights, and watch your form and technique so your posture gets better. And you feel able to do those day-to-day tasks like gardening, moving stuff, moving boxes, luggage, you name it, without tweaking anything. Now, a big thing that women also struggle with is meals. So something that women usually eat less than 50% of the protein that they need on a daily basis. For some reason, men were born with that need to go for, everyone I hear, my husband eats steak and potatoes. That's their norm. One of the big things is taking that, kind of what the men do in that way, but starting with that meal. So protein in women is incredibly important as soon as they go into perimenopause. And naturally will help offset the decrease in muscle along with working out as well. So as we age, a lot of women will actually start to eat less protein by doing this and not working out. Their muscle starts to decline, their metabolism slows, and their hormones shift in a negative direction. The goal is that if you can focus on that protein in your meals, it'll help maintain the muscle that you have, your metabolism will stay stronger, your joints, your bone density. And then something a trick I kind of teach a lot of my female clients, a lot of moms probably on here get it. It's like you get your kids a plate, they get food, they get eating, you start grabbing it. What I started to do was I said, sit down with the protein on your plate, then go back for your carbs and your vegetables. And what you'll start to find is it turns your appetite around. So you actually find that you're more full because we tend to naturally go to the carbs on the plate first. So again, it's just a little trick, but as you sit down, go for your chicken, go for your steak, your salmon, tofu, if you're vegetarian, go for those things first, then go back and go to the stove and grab your veggies and your carbs after that. What you're going to find is you have that 10 to 20 minutes where you've let that protein settle and you're going to eat less of the things that we don't eat as much of. Okay. Not saying to not eat carbs are important too, but our protein needs to be the focus. Now you can see there on the screen, but a big thing people don't know is that when you start to hit perimenopause, and that perimenopause will hit between 40, well, even earlier, 38 to like 44, we will lose 1 to 3% of our muscle mass per year in the perimenopause stage. Now, not saying you will, but if you're not working on not eating enough protein and doing strength training, that will start to decline. And that's even before menopause. That's where it gets scary, because if someone hits perimenopause at say 41, 42, you're losing 1 to 3% for 7 to 10 years. Your muscle is going to decline a mass amount, like 15 to 20% before we even hit menopause. A big part of this is that now we're going into menopause at a deficit. And once menopause hits, we lose 3% per year after that. So I always say to people, it's like, you want to go into menopause in the best situation possible. And those are two things that can be in your control going into that situation. So what I like to do is give you an example of a daily protein intake that I would give someone. As a female, you want to try to hit 0.8 grams per pound of body weight, minimum. Okay, most women eat 0.5, best case scenario. So this is an example. So these I realize aren't recipes, but to give you an idea. So if I had a 150-pound female, I want her eating about 14 to 1600 calories, depending on the person, as long as they're active. Okay, and by active, I mean working out 3 days a week and getting her steps in. Nothing crazy. This is not like 6 days at CrossFit. This isn't like going crazy. This is like just a general plan that you could do for weeks on end. Okay, so you'd start with something like an overnight oats, adding some kind of protein powder. A good snack would be pepperoni sticks and a piece of fruit. I'd suggest something like a power bowl, so eating meat, so chicken, veggies, and like a quinoa or rice. Homemade protein powder is awesome, or energy balls, something along those lines where you can get a little more protein in there, but it's something easy to take to go. When I'm suggesting food to people with kids, I highly suggest finding stuff you can take to athletic events or activities. Okay, so like energy balls, pepperoni sticks, beef jerky, those kinds of things that are easy to eat in the car. Okay. And then lastly, having a really solid meal, like a barbecue plate, like salmon, rice, and some veggies. Women, as of perimenopause, do not metabolize carbohydrates the same as men. So it's not that you need to focus on a no carb diet, but it's something that should definitely be lower. Okay. So you need carbs. I suggest eating them earlier in the day or around your workouts. It's one of those things that it's like when you sit down at the dinner table, you shouldn't need, unless you're working out in the evenings, you shouldn't need carbohydrates at all. I put them in because it's important that people are getting enough calories. But it's one of those things that it's like, if you need to eat more or you're hungry, the best thing you can do is eat more protein, or I always say to people, unlimited veggies. Okay. I've heard people come in, they're like, I know I shouldn't eat too many carrots. And I kind of laugh at them and I say, I don't really know anyone that gained weight because of carrots. Okay. So there's usually other options that are coming there. I always say unlimited veggies. It's a great thing to have a container in the fridge. I'll find even my boys will go in there and snack on it if they're hungry. Now, another thing I'm incredibly passionate about is gut health. So as women hit that late 30s into 40s, about 4 to 5 years postpartum, okay? And I use the word postpartum because your body changes after having kids for 3 to 5 years, okay? Postpartum to me is in 6 weeks. It's 3 to 5 years after your last kid. Now, what you're going to find is as you go through massive hormone changes coming out, your gut health is going to change. The way your body reacted to food at 25 and how it reacts to food at 40 is incredibly different. Basically, imagine you're starting with like a new body, okay? So gut health is incredibly important. And to me, it's at the core of absolutely everything. Now, the reason I say that is if you are more inflamed, you are more likely to have a whole bunch of symptoms that are going to affect other things like brain fog, gut discomfort. So as I listed on there, so signs and symptoms that your guts maybe aren't healthy. Okay, so digestive discomfort. So major things like bloating, gas, indigestion, diarrhea would be a huge one. Brain fog, I hear women say all the time. Okay, difficult, where you're speaking and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't remember that one word I just was about to say to you. Joint stiffness. I get a lot of people that come in and go like, I just feel like my knuckles are swollen all the time. My knees hurt. Okay. Constant, persistent, I call it pregnancy bump or bloating. Okay. Like you're kind of that 12 weeks pregnant. High anxiety. Okay. Persistent depression. Okay. Not feeling like yourself mentally. A big one and signs and symptoms I would suggest to people when I see it is like redness, skin irritation. A woman at 45 shouldn't have eczema. Okay, or shouldn't have zits, those kind of things. Then lastly, like a big one is headaches, aches and pains, like that constant, like right above your eyes, those kind of things. So when you're eating, it's really important to recognize these foods that are doing those things. Okay, so I have it on the next slide. So what I suggest to clients is create your inflammatory chart. I kept it on my phone. I find that it needs to be something that's always with you. And what you're going to do is you're going to create your own personal gut health chart. Okay, so as you eat, you should be noticing things that cause some of the symptoms I had on the last slide. Now, a big part of this, you guys, is to note that just because it's healthy doesn't mean it works for you. So, for example, in the picture I put here, 2 major things that cause my guts to absolutely blow up, no matter how I cook them, are onions and broccoli. Okay. So it's one of those things that like I was starting to eat foods and I'm like, why am I constantly burping this up? When I was eating baked broccoli that I would put in the oven with olive oil, salt, pepper, I'd bake it incredibly healthy and something I would feed my kids any day. I started to burp it up. And what I started to recognize was like the broccoli was making me incredibly gassy. And from there, oh, you lose me? Sorry, 1 second, guys. Oh. There we go. So yeah, so something that what you want to do is create that list. And then as you recognize food, so let's say you went out for supper last night with your husband. In the next 15 minutes, you're like, holy mackerel, I have heartburn over and over and over again. Okay. That's your body's response to what you ate. Write that meal down. Okay. Put it in your phone. And what you're going to do is you're going to start to recognize whether you're at a birthday party or you went out for ice cream, whatever it is. It's not that you can never have these foods. I just highly suggest you don't have them in your meal prepping week. Okay. So if I go out to I'll still have broccoli the odd time, but it's not something that I would put into my lunch every day for work. Okay. So again, think of your gut as kind of like your second brain. If it's not healthy, you're not going to flow as evenly throughout your day to day. A lot of women, it's like they're tracking calories, they're working out, you name it, and they're just they look inflamed. And a big part of that is they're eating a lot of the wrong foods. Okay. So really important. This has literally changed my life. I used to get migraines on a weekly basis. They were absolutely terrifying by the time I was into my, having my kids. I really nailed down my gut health, and I've been almost 4 years migraine free. I've done it with family and friends. It works incredible. A big thing, as much as we all love cheese, I suggest to women is to cut out dairy for 3 to 4 weeks. Dairy is the number one thing to cause women inflammation. Women inflammation. Okay. So yes, it's great for protein, with a Greek yogurt. There are healthy options for dairy. If you don't want to go dairy free, I highly suggest getting a lactose free option. And again, it's not that you are lactose intolerant or maybe just sensitive to that food. Okay. But I highly suggest it. You'll feel like $1,000,000, and then trying to cut out things here and there are a great way to kind of feel how your body's feeling. And you usually have to cut out a food for 2 to 3 weeks to notice any changes. Okay, so another big thing I work with clients is to not worry about the scale. Now, weight alone is not a good measure. Okay, if I was to go to my family doc today, they would say I'm about 15 to 20 pounds overweight. I know I'm not. All that today's medicine is doing is it's taking your BMI. Okay, so it's taking your height versus your weight. Well, we all know that the more muscle we have, the more we weigh. So I cannot suggest more than anything, if you can get a better scale at home that looks at your lean body mass, okay, because you never want your lean body mass to drop. It's really important, and it's finding a time that you feel that's on a consistency. So what you don't want to do is hop on the scale at 9 a.m. one day and 6 p.m. the next, because how much water weight you can gain and lose is incredible. Okay. So it's really important to not worry about the scale. If you are going to track something, looking at your body fat, okay, that's more than anything. I always use the example, we have a machine here at the gym that gives us a complete breakdown. And when my family went through COVID years ago, I came back and I was like, I feel small, and I felt small in a really bad way. I dropped almost 5 pounds, and all of it was my lean body mass. So my body fat actually went through the roof. My goal is that I want women to think healthy, think strong, think that muscle is more important than anything. If you can focus on those things and focus on your gut health with a little bit of calories and movement, your weight will come down and you'll start to see shape changes, which is awesome. That's when women tend to feel better. Movement matters more than anything. I mean this fully. We have had clients for years. Me personally, I've had one for 10 years. And she sits all day at work. And I bet you a lot of people on the call sit at work. Now, this client of mine was coming 4 times a week with a trainer, and she wasn't losing weight. And I kept saying to her, you sit all day. So unless you get up and you're doing active daily movement, steps, playing with your kids, going for bikes, gardening, anything to get up and move, you will not lose weight. So what I see the most in clients that are in their 60s and 70s here that are healthiest ever is this is the most important thing. If you can combo active living, so hitting your 8 to 10,000 steps a day with lifting, strength training, you will notice a difference in your body composition. Okay. But again, strength training is really important. But if you don't have this to go with it, your body comp is not going to change. And if that's your main thing is you want to lose a little bit of weight, which is what most people do, it'll make a big difference if you can just start doing this. As much as I don't want to promote smartwatches, having a smartwatch is huge for people that are sitting. It's great just to see where you're at. And then it's like if you get home and you have 2,000 steps in a day, it's like it is mandatory you get out for a walk. Okay. The other big thing, and I'll talk about in a minute, is going for outside time, outside exercise is a massive way to drop your stress levels, to bring down your cortisol, and to find a way to de-stress will help you then lose weight in turn. So like I said, so a big part of women is we tend to hold stress. A lot of women kind of feel like the weight of their household is on them. And finding a way to drop that stress level is going to help you feel less toxic. Okay. A big part of that is daily mindful movement. Okay. So like I said, getting out for walks, bike rides, finding something that you really enjoy. So if that's yoga or doing a 10-minute stretch, or, you know, meeting your friend for coffee and going for a walk, something like that. Deep breathing. So finding a, 4 or 5 minute daily routine for deep breathing. That can be done in your car. That can be done at home, before bed, in the morning, but something like that brings down your stress levels, but becomes a routine. Okay. And then consistency in your exercise. So exercise is the number one thing to bring down stress levels. But finding a way that you are not drilling yourself in the gym is important. So women tend to have high stress levels. If you were to go 130% at the gym, your stress levels are actually going to go up. What you want to do is find that about 70%. Okay. So I always say to people, if I'm training them, I should still be able to talk to them. They should be breathing. I should notice their heart rate's going up. Their cheeks are getting a little rosy. They're starting to sweat. But for women that are that 35 to 55, it's really important that they are able to talk and they're not just drilling themselves. A lot of women actually don't lose weight because they're going too hard in the gym. Okay. So again, active rest days, 2 to 3 active rest days a week are really important. If you're doing hardcore workouts 6 days a week and you're like, I'm not losing this belly fat, try to actually cut back and add in a couple of rest days, or you're just doing walking, something that's a lot lower intensity. Question. Sorry, I'm just reading a question from someone here. Carissa. So yeah, our question was, I'm 55 years old, postmenopausal, have a hypothyroidism, and would be a plan for getting my weight down. Carissa, that's I don't want to say general question. I need to know a lot of stuff you're doing right now, to know how active you are. I'm going to go through like step-by-step stuff that I suggest in the last 2 or 3 slides. Write those down, and then you can message me directly after, and we can see where you're at. Because again, if you're not doing anything activity-wise and not watching your calories at all versus 6 days a week, there's a big difference, and I just don't want to give the wrong information, okay? So we'll go through my slides at the end, and we'll see if you kind of get any feedback from that. Yeah, so recovery. Sorry, I'm just trying to get back to my slide. There we go. Now, recovery is huge. Now, a lot of women, as they are starting to go into perimenopause, really struggle with sleep. And if you're not sleeping, your brain fog's going to kick in. You're not going to have energy the next day. And you're going to find that everything relies on our sleep. Okay. So a big thing about it is finding some kind of routine that works for you. So a deep sleep comes with routine. And I always use the example of a newborn. You would never have a newborn child go to bed at 6 o'clock one day, 10 p.m. the next, not eat before bed, maybe chug breast milk before bed. If there was no consistency, your child would not sleep. So going back to that kind of routine, okay? So a big part of it is finding a way that you can create that routine and sticking to it, 99% of the time. I realize it's not always going to be. So a big part of that is dropping off screens, at least half an hour before bed. Making sure that you are ending your workout early enough so you can go for walks at night, but trying to end your workout early enough that you're not getting jacked up right before bed. Really important is making sure that you are drinking enough water throughout your day, but then stopping it, or sipping on it a couple hours before bed so you're not up all night peeing, which is a lot of women's problems. And then finding a way to find some kind of like 30-minute routine before bed that you're reading, you're stretching. I highly suggest magnesium before bed. About half an hour before bed is huge. And again, is staying in that consistency as best you can. Where this gets complicated is when women do shift work. But again, if you can get into some kind of routine with no matter when bedtime is, you have that like 1/2 an hour to 2 hour routine before bed. It's the best you can kind of do in your switch changeovers with your shifts. Now, a lot of women, they don't have confidence in themselves. It's incredible. I have trained women for years and they don't believe in themselves, number one. And then they let things get in the way of them being a priority. So having confidence in yourself as you start working out, if you're like, my goal next week is to lift weights twice a week. Okay. It's like holding yourself to that and knowing that it needs to be just as important to do the strength training and take care of your own mental health. I had years, I'm in an absolute ideal situation. I have an incredibly positive work atmosphere. I have a schedule that works for me and I have a gym outside my door. And I had, 2 to 3 years where between kid sickness and childcare issues, it becomes tough, right? It really does. So it's like, take those small wins when you do have the great weeks and know that there will be some crappy weeks and there's going to be 2 or 3 that are absolutely awesome. Finding a couple friends that you celebrate those wins with is huge. That you can kind of celebrate together, that maybe it's like you got to bed at 10, 3 nights in a row this week. Okay. But what you're going to start to notice is when you have those little wins and you start to keep promises to yourself, that positivity will shift into, your stress levels come down, you want to move more, it becomes a habit. Okay. It becomes something you look forward to, taking care of yourself first. Now, what the biggest barrier I see is women want the perfect time and the perfect week and the perfect situation where they can get started. Now, we all know that that perfect time never comes, right? The key is to just get going. And I say start small. So maybe it's like, I'm going to cook a homemade meal to start next week. Start little. If you're doing the homemade meals already, then maybe it's like, you know what? I'm going to meal prep all my lunches for work. But what women do is they just want that like perfect time. And it's like, you know what? You're going to have weeks that are at 25 or 30% perfection, and you're going to have weeks that are 130. The goal is to kind of hit that 70 to 80% for the next 10 years. And, you're going to have a week, you're like, I absolutely crushed everything this week. And it's great. And that's when you text your friend group or, you tell your trainer or your mom or your sister or whatever it is. And then you're going to have weeks where it's like, this is an absolute disaster. My family got the flu. I didn't work out for 4 days. But you know what? When you start to get into those basic habits, your progress will come. And your body will start to like, you have that terrible week and then you get back at it. And what's going to happen is that you're going to go back into those basic habits. I would say to people, it's like, go into the small repetitive stuff. Get drinking your water, get walking, get back to the gym once or twice next week. And what's going to happen is that really nice week starts to come back and then you'll go through a bump again. And that's just fine. Okay. You're not 25 with no kids and can be at the gym for 2 hours. Your goal is to be in that 70% kind of across the board for the year. Okay, so some ways to take action. So if you can write some of these down, these are things that I would suggest. Now, these are the things I really want you to be able to take away starting tomorrow. Now, I don't mean all of them. Okay, so I have 2 slides. By no standpoint do I mean all of them, but maybe you pick 1 or 2. So first thing, if you can do strength training 3 to 4 times a week is absolutely ideal. But if you're not doing anything right now, start with 1 to 2. Okay. Again, you're not jumping into my 10-year clients that have been doing this forever. You will also hate life the next week. If you go 4 days a week and you haven't been doing anything, you will not be able to sit down on the toilet and get back up. So a big part of this is like set a goal and get it in your calendar. If it is not there and you haven't told your spouse this is important to you, it will not happen. Okay. It's really important that you make this something that's important. If you had a work meeting, it would go on your calendar. Make it that priority. So 3 to 4 days a week strength training. And I don't mean bodybuilding. I don't mean CrossFit or some crazy HIIT workout. It's like just doing some basic strength training will get you moving. It'll get you motivated. Now focus on your protein. So if you can figure out 0.8 to 1 pound per, 1 gram per pound of body weight, and focus on that next week. Now, you don't even need to track your calories, just track your protein for a few days. All you need to do is know and be aware of where you're at right now. So I say that because if you have no idea, if you're at like 0.3, okay, or you're leaning towards more of a vegetarian or vegan diet, that's fine, but you got to figure out ways to get more protein in if you want your shape to change. Your shape will not change if you don't have enough protein and lift weights. Again, track 2 or 3 days, figure out where you're at with your protein, and then progress from there. You can't double or triple what you're doing right now, so you need to know where you're at to start, okay? Now, eating single ingredient whole foods. This is something that I focus on a lot of people. So obviously we know process isn't great, but what's really important is if you can track, if you kind of said to yourself, you can't have anything that could be in my cupboard. What it's going to start to do is you're going to start to eat quality foods, okay? Do you need to watch those foods to gain or to lose weight? Of course, okay? If you eat 4 cups of rice a day, you're going to put on weight. But if you can start to focus on those quality foods, number one, it's going to help you with your gut health, okay? It's really hard to tell what's wrong with your guts if you have a list of 50 ingredients on the back of a package, okay? So going into whole foods and going into prepping those whole foods, okay? So again, it's like, don't overcomplicate it. It's like find a homemade recipe for a protein pancake, triple that recipe, eat it for the entire week, okay? Finding simple things like that that work for your family and work for your meal prepping every week is huge, okay? If I have any moms on the call right now, I have 4 or 5 things always in my back pocket I know my boys will eat. For instance, taco. So they eat it, they load it, they throw on juicy beans, they have it in a wrap. Like they need the calories. I'll do the exact same thing, except I pop it on a salad, for example. Okay. So it's great. I get my protein, my veggies is a lot lower carb. They can load it, but I'm not cooking 2 separate meals. Find 4 or 5 of those things. When you know you're in a rush, you have those options. Okay. Daily steps. You can get Fitbits, you can get trackers for under $50 now. Okay. Wear it for 3 or 4 days straight. See where you're at. You will never lose weight in a natural way without getting that daily movement in. And again, set goals. Okay. I was noticing the last 2 or 3 weeks, we went on holidays. I was really struggling to get my steps in. I popped a thing up in my fridge this week to make sure that I'm getting those in. And if I'm not, I'm going for that extra walk at night. Okay. What it basically does is if a general person gets 10,000 steps in a day, they burn about 16 to 1,800 calories, okay? About a metabolic burn. Now, obviously, people are bigger, smaller, and be slightly different. But by doing that, if you're eating about that, plus you're working out, you'll be in that natural deficit. Well, over time to come, further and further, you'll start to drop a couple pounds a week. And all it is your body going, I'm getting this movement, I'm getting better blood flow, I'm less toxic. Because of that, you start to burn more calories and you start to lose body fat, okay? I would like to say in the client that I was telling you about that sat all day. So she was sitting in an office. She runs a business. She sits all day. She was getting 2,000 to 3,000 steps a day. And I kept saying to her, like, you need to get your steps up. By doing that and tweaking your diet by like 10%, you will start losing weight. She started last October, staying half an hour after and doing walks on weekends. She's dropped 43 pounds of fat, completely natural, by shifting her diet by 10% and walking more. It's incredible to what it does. Unfortunately, a lot of us want it really, really fast. You need to give your body time to trust the process that's coming, okay? Last one on the slide. So 10 minutes of outside time. Whether it's minus 20 or plus 20, if you can get outside and move, so going for walks, going sledding with your kids, going for a bike ride, getting out in fresh air, especially when you sit in an office all day is absolutely game-changing. I take my clients outside to work out all the time because they've been in office sitting in AC all day. They're in that brain fog. They're tired. Getting out for 20 to 30 minutes of sunshine while they're moving completely changes their attitude going back for the afternoon at work. Okay. So if you can go in your backyard, get some fresh air, see the sun come up, your attitude will change 130% if you start doing that. Okay. So a big thing is water. So I shoot for, I suggest people shoot for 1 liter per 50 pounds of body weight. Okay. 1 liter for 50 pounds. And this is even down to kids. So if you know your kid is 70 or 100 pounds, they should be shooting for like 1 to 2 liters. Okay. I put 2 liters as an absolute minimum for people, because as you go through day to day, if you're not really working out at all, you're going to sweat out about a liter of just natural like oils and things coming out of your skin. If you're moving and you're getting outside and you're doing yard work, that number needs to go up exponentially. It's huge. Water is a natural lubrication internally. If you're not doing that, your joints are more sore. It's harder to detox. It's harder to your brain fog will go down, you name it. It's so important. Now, what's really also important with this is that you don't jump from 500 mils to 3 liters. Okay. Again, you don't want to hate me and be peeing 24/7. Work your way up. So if you're having 500 mils, so like a basic cup like this, maybe you say next week I'm going to double that. Okay. Do a couple weeks of doubling it, then work your way in. Again, don't go from 0 to 100 for 30%. If you're not doing anything right now, you're not going to go to what Brooke's doing right now. Slowly work your way in and find what works for you, but getting your water up is really important. Now a fasting window. So I use the word fasting loosely. A lot of women that are perimenopausal or menopausal talk about night sweats. A huge part of that is as you eat late at night, a lot of people, have a bedtime snack half an hour before bed. You basically have like fired up your metabolism again to work on that food. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to go to sleep and you're going to wake up 2 to 3 hours after. So a lot of women will say, I wake up between 1 and 3 every single night with a hot flash. So I say to them, cut your food out earlier. So I always try to stop eating by about 7 o'clock because I go to bed at 9:30 or 10. What it does, it gives your body time to digest that food long before bed. I sip on water. I might have like a bubbly or something before bed if I'm like really craving something. But finding a way to cut that out is going to help you sleep better because that food is already getting naturally digested. Another big thing before bed, if you get hot flashes, it helps a ton if you eat supper and go for a nice walk. Okay, 10 to 20 minutes after a meal helps your digestion and your metabolism go up through the roof. You don't feel as full. You don't feel as lethargic, like I've ate way too much. Your goal is that you never have that like post-turkey feeling. It's finding a way that you give yourself enough time to digest that food before bed. Okay, so if anyone on here has hot flashes, I highly recommend you stop eating that 3 hours before bed. You should notice a big difference down the road. As well as, remember I said about the magnesium about half an hour before bed makes a huge difference in your sleep quality. To go along with sleep is cutting out screens, okay, before bed, reading, stretching, even card games, but staying away from screens before bed is awesome. And then keeping your sleep time as consistent as possible. Now, alcohol. So for a lot of people, cutting out alcohol completely is not possible. However, limiting it is, and it's a huge thing. So as our hormones start to shift in our late 40s into 50s, alcohol makes more and more of an impact on, our sleep. Our sleep is number one. So I'm sure a lot of people on here, say you go for a couple of drinks, you might notice you wake up multiple times throughout the night. Maybe your heart rate's high. You wake up super anxious, your hangover's awful off 2 glasses of wine, whereas it never used to be, okay? So finding a way to limit alcohol, also finding different types of alcohol for only having 1 or 2 drinks makes a big difference. So like the high sugary drinks are terrible. So finding things that are maybe lighter, but finding a way to, if you're looking for weight loss, cut that down to kind of like 3 to 5 drinks a week at absolute max, okay? If you're having couple drinks 4 or 5 times a night, you're not going to lose weight because alcohol naturally goes right to your gut. Okay. It's absolutely empty calories. And then a huge thing, going back to mindset, is don't overthink it. Every person overcomplicates it every single time. The biggest thing is just to move. Start going out and getting 2,000 steps tomorrow. Okay. Stop by stretching, get off your chair. The number one thing you can't do is to do absolutely nothing. Okay. My goal with all this is to show women that it takes very simple day-to-day changes to feel their best. By doing 2 or 3 things next week, you'll do better the next month. And by January, you'll be down 15 pounds and you'll be feeling better. Okay. So don't overcomplicate it. Just move. My staff here says my tombstone one day is going to say just move because it's my like main theory. But just finding a way to start today or tomorrow is, it'll mean more than anything to you. So a little about our HERStrong. So in March, we created an app that helps women. Okay, so if it's something that you're struggling with and you don't know where to start, this would be a great way to do it. So on the HERStrong app, it's created by myself, and I have a tech man behind the scenes. On the app, it's made for women by me, and it's how I train people here. So it's my way of kind of helping women in their homes without having to, number one, live in the city or maybe have the budget to come to a personal trainer. So what you get on the app is every week there's 3 strength training workouts that I've uploaded on there. They're full bodies. They're 20 to 30 minutes. All you need is a resistance band, a booty band, and 1 set of dumbbells. So it can be done absolutely anywhere. Along with on there, you get 1 core and mobility session. Those are actually 10 to 15 minutes. You can do them before bed. It's a great way just to get, if you have pelvic floor issues, your core is weak, your hips are uneven. A lot of women struggle with sciatica, okay, from having kids, you name it. That'd be a great way to do that. Also in there, I have a lifestyle and nutrition plan with no crash diets. It's how I eat with my kids. It's on the app, as well as we actually have a physical manual that we make. That's a wonderful book that we mail to every person that signs up. You can also go on our smart meal planner on there. And then a huge thing about it is I do weekly check-ins. So as people are doing their workouts, if I notice they've fallen off the mat for 4 or 5 days, I'll go in and check in on them. A really cool thing on there is I actually have form and technique checks on there. So if you're like, Brooke, I'm really struggling when I do this exercise, my knees hurt, you can send me a video, I'll send you a video back, and then we can go back and forth. I've even had people in person for free to show them how to do the exercise correctly. Then, like I said, there's a physical manual that's mailed to you. It's 30 days of foods that I suggest women eat. And again, you still got to look at stuff with your gut health, but it's a great way to get started that you know is a realistic meal plan. So just to show you a little bit about the app. One second, my text guy is fixing this here. So with this app, while he's fixing it, normally 30 days is $79.99. For being on the presentation today, this week only, it's $39.99 with no commitment after the 30 days. So if it's something that you want to try and see if you love it, it's $39. It's something that you can try out with us. At the last week, I message anyone that signed up to see if you want to continue. If you do, then we just keep the payments rolling at the $79.99. If you don't, there's no pressure at all. It's a way you can try it to see if you'd like it. Okay. So it's something on there. Sorry, this is course technology. It's not working. Gotta love it. So yeah, on there. Oh, there we go. So kind of an idea on the app. So every day there's ways you can track your workouts. The meals are on there on the app again, plus the book that I would send you. You track your water on there if you want. You track your daily steps. And then all the workouts, like I said, are done by me. So you watch a 2 to 3 minute video. You can scroll forward and back on there to watch how to do the exercises properly as I explain them. Okay, you can do them anytime, anywhere throughout the week. And then you rate your effort on that exercise, and that's the kind of stuff I see. So I can see if you're working hard enough, okay? Yeah, it's awesome. It's a way to get moving at home. Use me as a coach at a distance. I have people and family in Manitoba doing it right now. And it's a way to take care of yourself that is realistic for busy parents and busy moms, okay? So yeah, like I said, if you want to, you can scroll on the QR code there on your screen. Use the discount code 50. And what I'll do is I'll take you to our link. It'll show full price, but put the discount code in there. And then, yeah, if you have any questions about HERStrong, I am here. I'm going to stay on there and see if anyone has any questions about any like personal questions, or if they have any questions about the HERStrong app, I will stay on for a while. So thank you, ladies. That's kind of, I didn't want to take too much of everyone's time. I appreciate you coming on, and have a great Tuesday night. Thank you so much. So Liz, your recommendation is 1 liter per 50 pounds. And again, that can be anything that doesn't have caffeine, Liz. So like herbal teas, bubblies, greens, even just anything without caffeine or any kind of diuretic in it. Obviously not pop and stuff like that, but water. Try not to have a ton of like no sweeteners like Crystal Lights and stuff. But if it helps get water in, then absolutely okay. Crystal, if you have a question, I'm gonna type my email in here and then we can make contact, okay? Crystal, can you see that email that I sent through? Merity, no, like caffeine's fine. Matcha doesn't have a ton of caffeine by any standpoint. Like I say to people, like coffee's not a bad thing. A couple cups a day is not a big deal. Teas, a couple cups a day, not a big deal. The biggest thing is that you're getting enough water in to compensate the difference. Okay. So if you're not getting more than say 500 mils like this, but you're having 4 or 5, plus cups of coffee a day, plus a diet pop when you got home, that's where you don't want. So it's all about balance with that. Coffee or tea is actually fantastic in the mornings. A lot of women struggle with digestion, so it's a great way for people to get things moving in the morning. But I also say is making sure you're drinking enough water at the same time. Okay. So pound a glass of water, then have your matcha tea, and then make sure you're drinking water throughout the day.
Okay, and then the artificial sweeteners too?
Yes, it was recorded, Melissa, and will be sent out tonight or tomorrow morning. Thanks, Crystal. Yeah, I appreciate it. Carissa, you're still on there. You had that question about your postmenopausal? Carissa, oh yeah, so if you can hear me, for your direct question, I put my email there in the chat. Kind of get an idea as to where you're at right now. So write down like, are you walking? Are you strength training? If you're to rank your diet right now, are you at 70%, 90%, 30%? Get an idea, and then you can always email me and I can give you some direct feedback. Jaylene, yes, absolutely. Email me directly with hormone stuff. And again, fill in kind of what kind of things are you doing right now? Okay, so it's hard for me to get feedback if I don't know where we're starting. I always say to people too, I'm pretty forward and blunt about my answers. So if people aren't, I don't beat around the bush. So when people kind of give me feedback to where they are, I'm going to be very honest. If people want to lose weight and they're drinking like crazy, I'll just be honest with that. It's like, you're not going to lose weight unless you stop drinking wine every night. So yeah, kind of give me an idea where you're at. Okay. Yeah, Liz, thanks. Yeah, it's, people overcomplicate it. Go back to the basics. It's like, what would you tell your kid? It's like, in order for you to be successful, study, get to class, do the basics. It's the same idea. So simple things, setting those goals, the day-to-day goals is huge. Okay. Any more questions? I don't think I know anyone on here right now. Oh, I know Carrie. Hi, Carrie. And again, if anyone on here has more questions, please just email me directly. Or if anyone has my cell, by all means, you can do that as well. Okay, thank you, everyone. We will, oh. Hey, Mandy, yes, it was recorded. We will send out a recording link, probably tomorrow morning, and then you can watch it again. It's all good. Life happens. We get it. Okay, everyone, have a wonderful night. Check out the presentation, the QR code, and yeah, we'll go from there. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.